Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the psychology of adjustment and maladjustment. But hey, we aren't just going to look at dry psychological concepts here. Instead, we're literally holding up a mirror to our own minds. The concepts we're about to unpack provide this incredibly powerful framework for your own self-reflection, really helping you understand exactly how you interact with the world around you every single day. So let's take a look inward, shall we?
Do you master your environment, or does it master you? It's a pretty heavy question, isn't it? Just take a quick second to really think about it. When circumstances shift, when stress mounts, or when relationships just get totally complicated, are you actively shaping your experience, or are you kind of just passively swept away by the current? Well, the answer to that question lies right at the very heart of today's explainer.
Okay, let's dive right in and establish our foundation with Section 1, the concept of adjustment, understanding harmony. Now, when we hear the word adjustment, I think a lot of us mistake it for simply fitting in, right? Like just submitting to whatever is happening around us. But in reality, it's a super active, dynamic process. It is literally the process of getting along with yourself and with others. You're deliberately varying your behavior to produce a more harmonious relationship between yourself and your environment. And the source material highlights that this ability to accommodate oneself to changing circumstances, that's a true mark of maturity. It's an ongoing achievement, definitely not just a one-and-done event.
Think of this process kind of like a giant psychological thermostat. In step 1, we encounter demands. Now, these can be external pressures from society or maybe internal physical and mental needs. Then, in step 2, we vary our behavior to actually accommodate those changing circumstances. Step 3 is where the real magic happens: need reduction. Actually, the entire process of adjustment is totally driven by this need to reduce our frustrations and tensions. And finally, in step 4, we achieve a state of psychological and physiological adaptation. It's a continuous step-by-step process where we're basically constantly calibrating ourselves just to maintain that internal harmony.
So we know how it functions, but let's pivot to Section 2, why adjustment matters, and the real-world stakes behind all of this.
Successfully managing this adjustment process, it is absolutely crucial. It's literally the key to a happy and well-contented life. Its primary aim is to gratify our needs by dropping our frustrations to the absolute lowest possible minimum. It helps us strike this really critical balance between what we need and our actual capacity to meet those needs. But pay special attention to this part. Adjustment isn't just about changing yourself to fit the world. It actually gives you the strength and the ability to bring desirable changes to the conditions of your environment. It literally empowers you to reshape the world around you. How cool is that?
Moving right along into Section 3, traits of the well-adjusted. As we look at this clinical profile, I want you to prompt yourself. Mentally check your own behaviors against these traits. Let's break down the characteristics of true mastery.
What's really interesting here is the framing. A well-adjusted person considers every new situation merely as a challenge. A well-adjusted mind doesn't look at the unknown and feel this paralyzing fear. No way. Instead, they reframe the unknown, the stress, the sudden changes, into an actionable challenge, and they meet that challenge head-on using intelligence, courage, and wisdom. It's a completely proactive stance toward life's hurdles.
Building on that idea, self-awareness is just absolutely key. A well-adjusted individual intimately knows both their strengths and their limitations, and because of this, they possess what we call an adequate level of aspiration, meaning their goals are neither way too low nor way too high compared to what they can actually do. This is crucial, guys, because it prevents chronic disappointment. I mean, if your aspirations constantly outpace your abilities, you're basically setting yourself up for perpetual frustration and failure. But if they're too low, you stagnate. The adjusted mind finds that perfect, realistic sweet spot.
Now, this creates a really sharp contrast in how we approach life. On one hand, we've got flexible mastery. This person has this inherent drive to struggle with odd circumstances and actually master their environment. Their behavior is flexible. They easily adapt to changed circumstances. On the flip side, we have rigid acceptance, and wow, this is a trap so many of us fall into. This is the passive acceptance of circumstances, usually paired with a supercritical or fault-finding attitude. The well-adjusted person, they avoid this rigid trap entirely.
There are a few more really critical traits to round out this profile. The well-adjusted mind ensures that their basic, organic, emotional, and social needs are fully satisfied, which keeps them totally free from the pain of emotional craving and social isolation. Also, they don't just respect themselves, they extend that exact same respect to others. They maintain a strictly realistic perception of the world around them, and perhaps most profoundly, they hold a personal philosophy of life, one that isn't isolated but is practically woven right into the demands of the society they live in. That connection to society is what prevents isolation and really fosters deep harmony.
But what happens when that delicate internal thermostat just totally breaks down? Well, we enter Section 4, the trap of maladjustment, which occurs when adaptation fails.
Disharmony. Just sit with that single word for a second. Wow. It represents an incredibly stark, deeply uncomfortable tonal shift. We have moved from the harmony of adaptation straight into the grinding stresses of daily living.
Maladjustment is essentially the dark side of the coin. In psychology, it's defined as the inability to adjust to the demands of interpersonal relationships and the stresses of daily living. Basically, it represents a fundamentally unhealthy relationship with your environment. It's a literal failure of the individual to adjust to a situation, resulting in, well, faulty living.
The absolutely crucial point here is understanding exactly where this disharmony takes root, because it doesn't just happen randomly, right? It's directly caused by the non-satisfaction of our needs. When our basic physical, mental, or social needs go unmet, it breeds this mounting frustration and internal conflict. The source material stresses that maladjustment always results from these frustrations and conflicts. It is the degree of disharmony that pops up when that process of need reduction we talked about earlier completely fails.
So when you feel that mounting frustration we just talked about, is your frustration a sign of a broken world, or is it a signal that your own adjustment process needs a massive reset? Are you carrying around a critical fault-finding attitude, or are you stepping up with the flexibility and the courage to master your environment? I'm going to leave you to critically examine your own levels of harmony and disharmony. Thank you so much for exploring the mechanics of the mind with me today. Keep reflecting, keep adjusting, and I'll see you next time.